everything that you want that you don't want to show up in battle, because you're not going to use a wolf pelt in battle. Um, Not necessarily, anyway. So that kind of shows that. Um, and there's going to be times now. Let's go to the actual attack to show how I did the actual loot real quick. Um, I'm going to go ahead and introduce a function on this. The first thing I want to do, though, I want to show you is at the very top, is I created the variables to equal the gold, the loot, and if the creature has a loot, and that's just pulled from the tables we just created. If you go down, here's where I decided to go ahead and use a function. What it is whenever you kill the creature, it's running through this code and it's saying update the creature's hit points if the creature's been killed, because if creature is less than 1. And then it comes in here and it does a function. This is the function, creature killed, and functions work off of local variables. It has to have the variable passed to it in order for it to recognize the variable. So what I had to do is all the variables that I want sent to that function, which is that creature gold, the creature loot has loot, and the player too. I need to know the player's name, the player's ID, and the creature name. It gets sent to that function, and so that's just one line. So anytime I want to call the creature killed thing, all I got to do is call that right there, and it'll run it. And here's what it runs down below. You just do function and then the name of it, creature killed, and then here's where you're passing in all the same variables. Now, these don't have to actually match on name, because I could call this gold, loot, has loot, or then whatever I want to name it, because once the variables hit here, that's what they're going to be called with inside here. And I don't want to confuse you with this, so for now we're just going to keep it the same. The variables stay the same. So creature gold got passed to this creature gold, and then now it's going to be passed into here. If I was to leave that creature gold out, this function would not recognize it. Anything inside this function right here is local variables. Only if I was to create a new variable in here, you'd be able to pull it without any passing, but it will not go out and find any other variable. So all you have to do is you just pass it inside this. So just to give you an example real quick, let's say that I wanted to pass a variable through there, and I always lose this thing. Let's say that I wanted to pass a variable called randed. Let's say I wanted to pass a randed. All I would do is add the randed here, or let's just say let's just use an example that we know we have. Let's say I wanted to use that variable inside this function. All I would do is add it there. That's going to tell it to pass it to here. Now you got to be able to pick it up on the other end. So here's where you pick it up, and then anytime I want to use it, I just name it that. So if I want to use it, I would just do that and equals whatever. And that's as simple as it is. I mean, that's how functions work. Now, let's say that you wanted to pass one of these functions back. Let's say that you changed something that was in here, and now you need to bring it back. So let's say that you wanted the creature gold to be returned for an echo statement back up here. All you would do is at the end, you'd come in here and put return creature gold. I forgot. I'm used to JavaScript. Return creature gold, and what that'll do is, because remember everything in here is local, so if you were to come back up here and echo out, now you could echo out anything. You can echo out the creature gold because it's been returned. If you don't return it, it's going to be an empty variable. So now I could echo that out. Now I couldn't echo out if you change anything inside that variable. Let's say it has loot. Let's say that equals 1. I pass 1 into it. Let's say you change that 1 to a 2. If you don't return that variable, it's going to stay a 1. So if has loot equals 1 here, and has loot's going to equal 1 also right here. Now let's say inside this function you change has loot equals to 2. Since we're not returning the has loot, it's still going to remain 1. Only when you come down here and change it to has loot, now it'll equal 2. The cool thing about that is that you can mess with these variables inside this function, change them all you want. It doesn't change their actual anything outside this, so you could alter them and change them and not have to worry about it messing with anything out there. Of course, if you want to change them, then you'll just return them. So basically, this function, what I did was is gold. I just did a random number 0 to the maximum of the creature gold. Is loot, I did random 0 to 100. So, and then basically I'm saying um, if the is loot is less than the has loot, so how I said 50 and 75, if it's less than 50 or 75 depending on the creature, you'll get loot. Let's get rid of this has loot. Let's get rid of the, okay, we're good there. So you echo, you loot that many gold pieces, and then you update the player, and then if they do have it, you do find, you find then whatever the creature loot is on the creature. You need to select all. Now what I did here was to make things simple is that under store I put the actual creature item. So orc tooth and wolf pellet. Make sure the name here matches the name in the creatures, otherwise it's not going to match and it won't pull up. But I didn't add anything to them, but this way you could also sell them in stores. If you don't want to, then just don't put a location there. You can put a type or whatever else, but at least this way you could easily come in here and make them sellable somewhere. And what we do is after you get it from the creature, we just pull the stats from the store, and that way we don't have to store all the stats in the creature also. And then we just enter the inventory into the item into the inventory. So that's pretty much it on loot. It's a super simple thing. After this, we're going to start moving up and going into a little more of the quest system.